you can hear me off the microphone, that's actually much better. My name's Guy Copitch, People's Voice Media. Just before I go to we made a really interesting mistake which I'll share with you, which is our name is actually People's Voice Media, but our Twitter account is People's Voice. And the mistake we made is we couldn't get People's Voice Media into a Twitter account, so which is why we created People's Voice. On reflection, we should have done People's Voice Med. Because now I go around all sorts of places and people tell us, hi, People's Voice, and I say we're not People's Voice. So there's a real interesting debate about branding in all that. Just a bit of an idea of who we are, what we are, and where we go. We are what I would term a community development organisation. So we're not an IT organisation, we're not a media organisation, we're about trying to support communities, essentially. We were founded in 1995 under the name of Manchester Community Information Network, if people remember us. So we've probably been around for an incredibly long period of time, almost 20 years, which is quite scary. I only joined in 1999, so I'm not quite that old. Primarily we're about social media and community engagement. But we use this term social media a lot. And what I wanted to do was just throw out to you, is that me? I'm glad to take on here, I promise. What do we mean by the term social media? Anybody? This is always a good sign. This is always a good sign. I can hear the tumbleweed coming through the room. Anybody? Social media, come up with a definition. Connecting people by media. That's fair enough. Not to labour the point. Social media for me is literally about people coming together to produce the content in the way that they want to produce the content. What it's not for me is about Facebook, Twitter. Those are just social networking sites. So if it's about people coming together to produce the content they want in the way that they want to produce it, then actually that opens up all sorts of possibilities. Yes, you can blog, yes, you can podcast, yes, you can video, but actually you can also have newspapers. You can also have leaflets. Because if it's about people coming together, then it's the notion of people coming together to produce a media. Someone once said to me that young people are great on the social, but really poor on the media. And I thought that was quite an interesting context. They're great on Facebook, but actually the production of media is probably quite poor. Okay, the big thing that we have is our Community Reporters programme. And the Community Reporters programme is our way of taking user-generated content and giving people a voice using that user-generated content. So we take people through a very clear training programme, people are supported in that training programme, and at the end, they get badges. And these are Community Reporter badges. One day this badge will be more powerful than the NUJ. And our plan is that it will become more powerful than the NUJ. So, I'm not going to go into what Community Reporters do and the content, because what we actually have is, if it works, be said specifically. What we actually have is that website, which is communityreporters.co.uk. Now, very nature of what we're trying to do is we develop video, audio, pictures, any level of different content that is produced. So we might have someone producing interfaith podcasts, talking about food, or talking about different religions and agnostics and atheists, about how those people are using food as a tool. We might have a video of deaf people talking, telling jokes in sign language. We might have someone writing a story about the riots. What we're not about in Community Reporters is news. I'm not interested in courts, I'm not interested in councils, I'm not interested in politics as such directly. What we're about is trying to get the really authentic voice of people, the stories and the views of the people that they want to tell in the way that they want to tell it. So, the phrase that we use is we use Community Reporters to support people to have a voice, to challenge perspective and to describe their own reality. Because often what we find is that newspapers and government ministers will make judgments on single parents and people on incapacity benefit, a whole range of different people. And actually the stories are often very different. So our ultimate goal would really be to create a Daily Mail article and have lots of content about what story is. So when they besmirch single parents or besmirch at all, actually this is the real stories of real people and real communities. So, I've talked a bit about the notion of 10,000 community reporters and the concepts that we got. I've talked a bit about the community reporter badge. What we're actually trying to create is what we term the Reuters of the community. Real stories coming from real people, aggregating that together, and then marketing and sending that content upwards. So instead of having Murdoch determine what our priorities are, we can determine what our priorities are. And the message that's picked up today is we've all got mobiles, we've all got digital cameras, we can start producing content. So the goal for us is to create what we term the Reuters of the community. Our goal by 2020 is to have 10,000 community reporters across the UK. But that's not an unrealistic dream. I think that's a very modest dream. I actually think we could have 30 or 40,000. If we have 10,000 community reporters producing the stories and the content that people want to produce in the way that they want to produce it, we will be bigger than Murdoch. Now, Murdoch's helped us out a little bit because he has 10,000 reporters. He's got rid of 250 reporters from the News of the World, so really our target now is really only 9,750. But not only do we want to create and be bigger than Murdoch in terms of reporters, our ultimate goal also is to create localised networks which have websites, preferably free from WordPress, TV channels from YouTube, podcast radio, electronic books which are free and which you can embed video and audio in, and community newsletters. So what we're actually looking at creating is local communication hubs being fed by the 10,000 community reporters and those stories out. How are we going to do it? Well, we want to change. We're not just into social media for the content. We want to change, or attempt to change, the way organisations and people function on a different economic basis. So what we're looking at doing at the moment is we're currently developing social licences with organisations. So organisations take out a licence with us and they run the community reporter programmes in their own localities and use it as an income generator. What we want to create is a network of organisations and people who can then work together to create wikinomics. People are familiar with the phrase wikinomics, which is where you have small organisations working together, coming together, partnering together in order to develop something else separately. So in other words, this isn't just about developing community reporters for voice, that's the first stage of it. To create 10,000 community reporters, and we'll work with organisations to develop social licence, to actually create different markets, different opportunities for individuals and small organisations to come together to partner with the bigger organisations. So we're not just taking social media as a tool of engagement, we want to see social media develop into different economic structures as well as give real power to individuals and